Hey everyone, I know many of you guys are now targeting for TIFR JGE BILS exam, right? And it is knocking at the door. Now, TIFR JGE BILS exam is very different from other type of exams such as IIT JAM or CSIR NET because here they ask more analytical question compared to information based questions. So you guys are always confused that where to practice those questions from, what type of questions they might ask, etc., etc. So each year they ask innovative questions. Stay tuned till the end because we are going to practice quite a lot of questions like this. So let's begin. We would have 10 questions and solution with it. So first particular question that we are going to focus on is this. Here they are saying a researcher identified a unique epitope in his protein of interest. He cloned the sequence of the epitope in an expression vector, and using hybridoma technique he has generated a monoclonal antibody. But when he used it for detecting his protein in ELISA assay, he found no signal. What could be the reason for this observation? So in TIFR, a general trend is they provide a information or experimental setup, and you have to understand what is the interpretation of that experiment or what is expected from that experiment. This question is same. So the options are: the antibody has a very low half-life and it is getting degraded rapidly. ELISA machine was not working. The epitope was buried deep in the core of the protein, and as a result antibody can't detect it. The antibody was polyclonal instead of being monoclonal. So which one would be the correct answer? So let us pause this video for a moment, think about it and try to answer. So by this time you might have answered it, and if you have answered correctly, the correct option would be option C, because when you clone a epitope, by looking at the sequence you don't know in a 3D structure of protein where it would lie. Maybe this is the 3D structure of the protein and your epitope is lying inside the core. So the antibody, we generally recognize the epitope, has to access, right, this particular epitope, otherwise binding is not possible. So in a native form this antibody cannot really bind to this particular epitope, and that is why this kind of experimental result she is obtaining. So this particular question was totally analytical, right? And this doesn't require a huge knowledge apart from some basic concepts. Now let me tell you from where you can get these kind of questions or question banks for free. So you can download the Unacademy app, you can use my code AP10 just for free to get into this examination, which is a full length mock test for TIFR. It is on 4th March, that means tomorrow, and this exam would be a 180-minute exam which starts from 9 a.m. So go and kind of try to assess yourself that what is your preparation level, and also you would get to know some of these important questions, or you would get familiarized with these kind of questions. And many educators all across India sit together to build this kind of test. It would be helpful, it would develop your analytical skill. But Unacademy, neither my channel give any guarantee that you would be selected or these are the questions for exam. And especially none of these questions were asked in exam, neither it was taken from any book. So these are solely made for your understanding. Okay, let's move on. So the next question is, in an experiment you wanted to see which mutation will have a worse effect in terms of transcription. In the first set of mutation you deleted 94 amino acids from the C terminus, and in the second set you replace a 265 C terminal arginine to cysteine. So two type of mutations you have done. So in your opinion, which would have a severe effect? Option A, the mutant that has 94 amino acid deleted from its C terminus, or which has a point mutation in 265th terminus, or both would have similar kind of negative effect, or there would be no effect at all. So again, you have to understand that how to analyze this particular question. So you need to know that the C terminal domain, the C terminal domain of the RNA polymerase, the eukaryotic RNA polymerase, is crucial for the transcription initiation. So there are several phosphorylation sites, right? So there are heptad repeats, right? These heptad repeats can get phosphorylated, and that gives the RNA polymerase a license to move across the gene body, right? So these phosphorylation sites are important. Now if you delete a chunk of 94 amino acid, it is probable that 7 residue heptad repeats would be deleted. Now if you really change the mutation like to arginine to a cysteine, nothing would happen because arginine residues are not phosphorylated, right? So generally serine and threonine residues are phosphorylated. So from that angle this question was asked. So the severe effect would be seen in the 94 amino acid deleted mutant. So I hope you are getting a sense that how questions can be framed and can be answered. None of these requires a lot of information to work with, but C-terminal domain is crucial for RNA polymerase's activity or initiation of the transcription. This is a core concept. Based on this core concept, they might ask questions like this. Again, these questions are some demo, some mock-ups, etc. These are never asked in the exam. This won't be asked in the exams. Okay, let's move to a level, one level up and try to learn another question. A researcher wanted to find out the interactors of protein X. Now, protein X is his protein of interest. He first performed the immunoprecipitation for protein X and took a pull down fraction for mass spectrometry analysis. So for the list of potential interactors, he chose from the top hits what he got from the mass spectrometry. So he got hits from the mass spectrometry. He chose the proteins which are in the top in the list. Say here protein A, B, C and D. These 4 proteins are the topmost in the mass spectrometry list. And he tried to validate this with Yeast-2 hybrid assay just to know that whether they are interacting with each other. And this is the following result he saw. He saw for protein A and B there are colonies formed, but protein B and D there are no colonies formed. Now these options tells you what would be the most probable explanation for this kind of observation. So the first option says protein A and protein C interacts with protein X in vitro, while all the proteins interact with protein X in an in vivo condition. The Yeast-2 hybrid assay did not work for protein B and D, and that is why there is no colonies, right? Okay, then third option is all the proteins are interactor of protein X, but A and C are direct interactors, while B and D might be indirect interactors, right? And option D said all the conclusions are true. So let me tell you what happens once we have a pull down. So we have pulled down one particular protein, right? Protein X is pulled down, and in that pull down fraction we can detect A, B, C and D protein from mass spec, right? That means there is some kind of interaction. Now you understand this. So X might interact with protein A directly, or there could be a middleman which is helping this interaction between X and A, right? Now Yeast-2 hybrid assay, if you know the principle, then it would only show the direct protein of direct interaction, right? So that is why though all of these things came in mass spec, only A and C are the direct interactors. So here the correct option would be option C. Now again there is another question. A researcher was formulating a novel drug which he thinks can include cell growth, induce cell growth by positively modulating MAP kinase signaling pathway, because MAP kinase signaling pathway is one of the important pathway which modulates growth. It's logical to think in this direction. In order to test his hypothesis, he divided HEK cells into 2 sets, control and treated, and tested them for MAPK signaling activity. He used phosphorylation of ARC as a readout. So he needs some readout. He used phosphorylation of ARC as a readout. The Western blot result for this is shown here, and you have to derive the conclusion. So here the conclusion is MAPK signaling is activated upon treatment with this drug, and hypothesis is validated. Option B is MAP kinase signaling is not activated upon treatment with drug, and the hypothesis is failed. So alternative hypothesis would be true, and MAP kinase signaling is unchanged, none of the above. So what he has done, he has put the drug into two cohorts, control and treatment. So in control there would be no drug, treatment there would be drug. Now in treatment what he see, that there is a decrease in phospho-ARC level. Phosphorylation of ARC, this is a readout and it is already mentioned in the question, right? So if you see that this phosphorylation is happening, you would get an estimate that you would have a phosphorylation, right? So what to call you? So basically from this particular blot you can see that MAP kinase pathway is not activated, right? If it is activated, phospho-ARC level might have been increased, right? Exactly. Okay. The next question says, by itself methylated H3K9 inhibits transcription, but in the presence of other methylations like H3K4, H4K20, the three modifications acts together to stimulate transcription. So they talked about two phenomena, right? And this is evidence that the chromodomains are repulsed by H4K20 methylations. Histone modifications are read as a code, as a combinatorial code. That modified histones are read one at a time by a transcriptional machinery, none of the above. So what can be the conclusion? So I'm pausing the video and you can answer meanwhile. So here the correct option would be option B, because histone modifications can be read as a code, a combinatorial code, and that is how the outcome is modulated. So these are the question types. Majority of the information is provided in the question and you have to interpret based on the information provided. So this is the difference between IIT JAM and JG BOS. Now for next few questions you would be answering, and the next video I would solve it. I will just read the question for you. You wanted to isolate a bacterial active RNA polymerase with a part of the transcript associated with it. So your criteria is mentioned from a cellular mix. Okay, so from a cell lysate of bacteria you wanted to isolate that. For this you perform an immunoprecipitation with anti-sigma antibody. So you know the sigma factor, you have pulled down that sigma factor and then you check the precipitate. What would you observe in the precipitate? Option A, RNA polymerase with transcript. Option B, RNA polymerase without the transcript. Option C, only antibody. Option D, DNA with associated RNA polymerase and transcript. So try to solve this question, and you can, though there is no number, maybe I would give the solution in the next video. Okay, there is another question. A patient who sustained a severe snake bite was brought to an emergency room. He was given a unique he was given a particular antivenom, okay, and this antivenom would save him from the snake bite. Now next 5 days the patient developed slight fever, hives, and he has pustules in his skin and there are skin lesions where neutrophil invasion has happened. So based on these given observations, what could be the conclusion? The patient has a primary humoral immune response against the gamma globulin. The patient is expecting a direct toxic effect of the gamma globulin. The patient has a secondary cell-mediated immune response to the gamma globulin. The patient had a secondary innate immune response against the gamma globulin. So which one would be the true? Okay, next question is, a researcher found a novel fungal protein and hypothesized that this protein might be a transcription factor. In order to prove his hypothesis, which set of techniques he can use? In silico approach to predict the functional domain in the novel protein and comparing it with the known DNA binding domain, pulling down using a monoclonal antibody against the protein and then performing a sequencing, then performing a confocal microscopy based analysis, and option D is both A and B. So you have to understand what is the necessity, what techniques can be used based on your current knowledge. Okay. Now, a researcher found a method by which she could use to, which she can use to manipulate or quantify phosphorylation and acetylation in embryonic cell cultures. Now, in one set of experiments, she succeeded to decrease the acetylation level in the histone tails. What would be the consequence? And here are the options. You can also answer this question. So, these are the questions that I thought, these are the 10 questions that we have tried to solve. Now, last 3 questions we didn't solve. If you like this video, do let me know in the comment. We can solve this in the next video and we can post more of these contents. And stay tuned and also check out Unacademy's content. It might be useful for you. It is absolutely free of cost. Just use my code AP10 to get into this test. So they would ask a particular code. Use AP10, and more information about these tests or many other resources, which are majority of them are free, that you can possibly use, is in the description. So check out the description, links would be provided there as well. So subscribe to Unacademy now and subscribe to my channel. And yes, you can always use my code AP10 to get a 10% discount in Unacademy. Thank you.